Okay, so we are live. एंड थोड़ा सा पोपट होता हुआ क्योंकि मैंने इंट्रो सॉन्ग बजाया था बट इंट्रो सॉन्ग सुनाई नहीं दिया, बट कोई बात नहीं, दिस थिंग्स हैपन समटाइम्स एंड द बेटर पार्ट इज दैट वी आर लाइव एंड लेट मी जस्ट मेक श्योर दैट क्या आप लोग हाय हेलो बोल सकते हैं ताकि मैं मेक श्योर करूं कि आवाज आ रही है, बिकॉज आई एम अफ्रेड कि आवाज नहीं आ रही. लेट मी जस्ट कंफर्म.
भी आ रही है.
तो आवाज नहीं आ रही थी पहले, बट आई गेस वी हैव फिक्स्ड इट आउट. एंड जितने भी लोग थे, जो भी लोग मुझे फालतू में नाचते हुए देख रहे थे, पर मैं पहले नहीं नाच रहा था. देयर वाज अ सॉन्ग प्लेइंग इन अ बैकग्राउंड व्हिच वाज नॉट ऑडिबल टेक्निकली. तो ऐसी चीजें हो जाती है. सो वेलकम वंस अगेन एवरीबॉडी टू द 4th एपिसोड ऑफ टू बुक ड्रैगन्स एंड आई एम हियर सौरभ शर्मा और हमारे साथ हैं दिव्या आनंदानी लाइक यूजुअल. और आज हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं द एल्केमिस्ट बाय पाउलो कोलियो. एंड आज जो है टेक्निकली, जैसे कि लास्ट वीक से हम कोशिश कर रहे थे, लास्ट वीक गॉट पोस्टपोन्ड फॉर वेरियस रीजंस, नेचुरल रीजंस जो हमारे हक में नहीं होते हैं, जो हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं होते हैं. एंड सो गोइंग बाय द सेम थिंग, तो आज जो है टू बुक ड्रैगन्स की जगह एक ऐड ऑन है. वी आर थ्री बुक ड्रैगन्स. द स्पेशल गेस्ट टुडे दैट वी हैव विद अस इज सिमरन who is an Amazon bestseller author of the book Cordially, which is a collection of letters. So hello Simran जी, कैसी हैं आप?
बस बढ़िया है, आप बताएं.
आई एम वेरी गुड, आई एम वेरी enjoyable. आनंदानी जी, आपका क्या ख्याल?
Very excited. Book actually, ये book तुम्हारी favorite है, but I wanted to read it, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. So इसी बहाने I finally get to read, and I think I know why you like this. I think I figured it out.
Okay, so this can be an add-on question today, that in the end I can ask you that why do I like this book? 10 minutes. Okay. So before we start, as you said, this is one of my favorite books, obviously. So I really want to ask both of you. So how excited are you to discuss this book?
Yeah. Wait a second. Correction. This is one of your favorite books because it's one of the very few books that you've read.
Very nicely portrayed. And okay, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. I am caught over here. ये चीजें लाइफ पे नहीं बोलनी होती, but yeah. So getting back to the same point. So how excited are you to?
It's good to see you read more books now because of this. At least you are reading. You have started reading it.
True.
Absolutely.
Yep. तो how excited, मेरा सवाल तीसरी बार रिपीट करते हुए, how excited are you to discuss this book?
मुझे जब like when you asked me कि do you want to be the part of Alchemist, I was like yes, I have read this book a very long back, around 9-10 standard, and it has been there with me. My favorite, one of the favorites मेरी भी है वो book. It is very simple story, but it teaches you a lot in life. That is why somewhere it is there on the shelf, that favorite list में है. So I was damn excited कि चलो something new will try, something new will discuss. But then I am equally guilty because I'm gonna reveal the plot, the insights and everything. So somewhere it is like 50-50, excitement and equally guilty as well.
And how about you, Divya?
For me, basically, I believe when I was reading this book, I think if I would have even picked it up when I was 13, 14, मुझे एक sense मिलता है इस book में. So what I liked about this book is that you pick it up at any age. Like I was asking Simran, when did she read it? She read it when she was 14, 15. So, and I read it now, like the very first time. But whenever you pick it up, the way the book goes about, I think you can find it relatable at any point of stage. And वो बहुत कम books करती है कि तुम उठाओ और यार एक 14 साल का बच्चा भी relate कर सके और एक 60 years का person भी relate कर सके, तो बहुत कम books करती है. So I really like that. This is one of those books, and I think I did find it relatable to a lot of extent.
Yeah, my initial thought to everyone even who used to ask me that why do you like this book was the same, that I told them that if you love reading stories, this is the book for you. Just read it like a story. It's the story that have everything, romance, plot twist, thriller, everything in it. But if you like to read philosophical stuff, deep stuff, find a meaning of your life, this is the book for you. You can find a meaning. And the best part of that is that this book has also been converted into a comic, like a graphic novel. So you can see that this is entertaining enough if you want to read it from entertaining purposes, and yet this book is philosophical enough if you want to read it. But then वो silver lining आ जाती है जो there used to be a joke, that be like कि अक्सर classes में teachers और ये सारे जो deep rooted literature laureates होते हैं, they just keep telling that when the author has written the sky is blue, and they be like, the author wants to tell that the pain in his eyes and the pain in his heart, this all is reflected this and that, and उसके नीचे लिखा था but what really author wants to that the sky is freaking blue, that's it. So it is this way or that way, we don't know that it's our head who's making these meanings out of the book, or actually Paulo wanted to convey, and that's the reason why I guess this book stands out for me as one of my favorites. And my favorite, only favorite ही बोल देता हूँ फिलहाल, वरना बोलूँगा तो दोबारा से टॉन्ट आएंगे. So this is one of two books that I love. That's much better now. So इसलिए one of my favorites.
Is the second book A Kind of Cruelty?
Yeah. Like, wow, yeah. See, इसलिए मैं कहता हूँ, I'm an open book myself. People know me so well. There are no hidden secrets about me. Very good. And before someone asks me in the comments कि total कितनी books पढ़ी है, we should start the show.
मैं पूछूं?
It's only for the comment people, okay? So everyone, so सारी details about this show and is नीचे भी रनिंग डाउन चल रही हैं. यू कैन सी अभी हमने एक नया इफेक्ट लगाया है, एकदम न्यूज मीडिया की तरह, हेडलाइंस की तरह टक 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 सब चलते हुए आता है. एंड प्लस इफ यू गाइस वांट टू रीच आउट टू सिमरन एंड रीड हर बुक कॉर्डियली, इट्स अवेलेबल ऑन Amazon, एंड द डिस्क्रिप्शन में सारी डिटेल्स अवेलेबल हैं. यू कैन जस्ट फाइंड इट आउट ओवर देयर. एंड तो फिर आज शुरू करते हैं आज का हमारा शो. और एंड में वी गोना हैव अ स्मॉल स्पेशल सेशन विद सिमरन मनोहर, थोड़ी बातचीत उनसे उनकी बुक के बारे में भी करेंगे. सो इफ यू हैव पीपल हियर फॉर सिमरन देन हैंग अराउंड और वेट कीजिए थोड़ा. अंत आते आते आपको आपका स्पेशल सेगमेंट भी देखने को मिल जाएगा. एंड इफ यू गाइस वांट टू जॉइन अस इन दिस कन्वर्सेशन, जस्ट कीप कमेंटिंग अपने सारे फीडबैक्स एंड जस्ट कीप कमेंटिंग अबाउट योर व्यूज अराउंड द बुक एंड वी विल कीप डिस्कसिंग अराउंड इट. सो वी हैव छोटे डिफरेंट सेक्शन से शुरू करते हैं. सो जस्ट टॉक अबाउट द फर्स्ट सेक्शन दैट इज बुक के बारे में शुरू करते हैं. सो द कवर ऑफ द बुक, व्हाट्स द व्यू, क्योंकि I believe judge a book by its cover and that has to be there. I do not believe not judge a book by its cover वाला इधर उधर की बकवास. So your cover is quite different than this cover. Yeah, so we have both the covers over here, the Kindle cover and the paperback cover. So I guess this is the right thing. We can have both the perspectives. So how do you like Kindle cover and how do you like the paperback cover?
So, Kindle cover is the 25th anniversary edition cover. So I think it's like the book is 25th anniversary. It's everything. It's mysterious enough to pick it up and go like, okay, I want to know what's in this book. It has no person per se, but all abstract birds and stuff around it, river and desert and everything. So I think it's mysterious enough कि कोई अच्छा देखेगा तो will be like, oh, I want to know कि इसमें क्या होता है. Is it a story about mountains? Is it a story about desert? Or if it's an adult this book up and going like, okay, this is something that flip the page and be like कि अंदर क्या लिखा हुआ है probably. So it's not very particularly engaging, but engaging enough to draw your attention. So yeah.
And what's your take, Simran, on paperback cover?
It is basically a mixture of yellow and orange, which is actually, according to the color psychology, if you go, it is happiness and optimism. So that is why the cover is very pleasing to the eyes, and you can just go and it outstands in the crowd. Like the color itself outstands in the crowd, so you can just go and pick it up. So that is what something I felt. But I would rather pick the book because of the subtitle they have written down, a fable about following your dreams. So that is something which I find very relatable rather than the cover, the reason to pick the book up.
That's it. And for me, the same reason goes while I felt जब मैंने पहली बार book देखी थी that this is something about hope for sure. Like I even after before having the first conversation with the friend जिसने मुझे book दी, I had no idea about the book, nothing at all. And my first opinion जैसे ही मैंने book देखी was that this is definitely something around hope. And so I must pick it up because that's those sort of reads मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा attract करती हैं. So I just felt that yep, this might be something around that con. So going ahead, and I guess the next section is quite what do you say? ज़रूरत नहीं है ज़्यादा बात करने की because about the author we can जितनी भी बात करें about the Paulo Coelho is less enough, and almost every other person out there in the publishing industry or the readers know the name Paulo Coelho. But Ed, what are your thoughts on the guy?
So when I was 14, I did not pick up Alchemist. I picked up this another book called 11 Minutes by Paulo Coelho. That's how I first met the work of this particular author. So now 11 Minutes is a very interesting story that as a 14, interesting and controversial story that as a 14-year-old is too soon for me to read, I will confess. And for those of you who do not know, so 11 Minutes is the story about a prostitute. But how she grows up and she discovers all sorts of things. She discovers masturbation, she discovers masturbation, she discovers what she wants to do in life. Then she meets a couple of client friends who teach her all kinds of experimental sex and moving on. As a 14-year-old, this is too much for me to handle. But I think it gave me an experience early on as to, okay, ये सारी चीजें भी होती हैं. Made my mind curious. That's how I met Paulo Coelho. Of course, then I was interested to read other books by Alchemist. I knew of Alchemist, but again, Alchemist, I couldn't pick it up till now, but I'm glad I did now. So that was Paulo Coelho. His work has been varied. He experiments with his writing from what I have read so far. Like this could be a philosophical book, but also a fairy tale kind of a book. 11 Minutes could be a very exotic and erotic book, but also a story about someone who's been through something really transforming for her own self. So that's Paulo Coelho. He can make any book into any genre possible.
For me, the author is something like he tells to or tries to give you a message about the life regarding various situations in a very simple manner. He won't complicate the things a lot and give you a direct message which you can, like, you have to just read the book carefully and you'll understand every bits and pieces of it. So that is something which is very commendable about the author, because it is very necessary and it is not easy to give a message out with such a simplicity. So that is something which I like about him.
And for me, like, I was not much into books. I was into books as a child, and then for better part of my teenage, you can say, I was away from the books for various reasons. I was not supposed to be nearby the books. It was considered as a sin. So nahi ja sakte the aap. So when I came across Paulo the Alchemist, honestly, I had no idea that who Paulo Coelho is. Like, he's such a big, I had no idea about it. And like, मेरे पास book थी, Paulo Coelho का नाम था, whatever. And then few of the seniors came by and they were like, तो Paulo Coelho की book पढ़ रहा है. Like, and just to give a little clarification, उससे पहली book जो मैंने आधी पढ़ रखी थी was Half Girlfriend. And my seniors and colleagues have seen me reading it. So they came across and they be like, तो कल हाफ गर्लफ्रेंड पढ़ रहा था, तो आज Paulo Coelho पढ़ रहा है. You know that वो कौन है? मैंने कहा I don't know, and I don't had internet access or Android phones by then. मेरे पास लैपटॉप था और इंटरनेट का बहुत लिमिटेड डेटा था, तो I used only कि असाइनमेंट्स के लिए बचा के रखना है. So I was like, who the guy is, and then I opened up the book, started reading, और उसमें I also picked up one of the anniversary books itself. तो उसमें it has been mentioned about Paulo Coelho starting उनका पूरा interview था. And then I read it, and then I realized that okay, he's quite a big shot in all the publishing industry और एकदम philosophical thought के बारे में, बहुत हटके thought के बारे में, including controversies, including giving messages. So I'm like, oh, that's why. So it must be a deep-rooted book. इसीलिए सर कोई मुझे कह रहा है that why you have such a shift from a cliche romantic novel to Paulo Coelho philosopher. But then my thing was that because this is my genre, वो मैं इसलिए पढ़ रहा था क्योंकि कुछ और book नहीं थी आसपास, and someone gave it to me and I'm like पढ़ लेते हैं. So because I wanted to start reading back again, so that's how I met Paulo Coelho, and then I just started knowing more about him, get more updates, talk to people about him more and more, and realize कि अच्छा बाकी books के I've not read other books of him yet, but I have known the essence of almost every book. जैसे दिव्या से मुझे 11 minutes का पता है, किसी से मुझे ब्रेडा का पता है, so I know the essence of different books from different people, and then I realized कि हाँ उनका collectively तरीका ही ये है that you write a story which is deep enough, but you write a story which is entertaining enough on the same side, and it's your choice that how you want to read it. So that's quite commendable.
Yes.
एंड अब जरा ये तो सारे डिटेल्स थी जो बंद बुक की डिटेल्स थी. अब जरा बुक को खोला जाए. व्हेन वी गेट इनसाइड द बुक, सो अ स्पेशल सेक्शन दैट वी हैव इज अबाउट समथिंग दैट पीपल डोंट टॉक. The acknowledgements about the author we have already discussed. The acknowledgements, the prelogue, the epilogue. So the section जो पूरी बुक की कहानी के इर्द गिर्द होते हैं, which people often ignore. They directly go to page 7 and 8, but उसमें भी बहुत कुछ होता है. So my encounter with the prelogue and the acknowledgement was actually an edited one because I picked up an anniversary version. तो उसमें उन्होंने mention भी किया था that this one is changed from the original one, और उसमें उन्होंने interview भी डाल रखा था पूरा. And उन्होंने so the discussion with Paulo. So first thing that I realized was that this is a translated book. This is not originally written in English. So that I got to realize, and I'm like, okay, this must be something very special to get translated into English for sure. And then the second thing, I am very glad that the book that I picked up had the discussion where Paulo Coelho is actually explaining about the correlation of his own life with the characters, that how he connected with each and every character, कि इसके मेरे साथ ऐसा connection, उसके साथ ऐसा. And then he somewhere said that if you don't find hope in your own life, you cannot write about hope. It's a very mischievous thing would be to write down it. क्या फिक्शन समझ के कुछ भी लिखे जा रहे हैं और लोगों को एनकरेज किया जा रहा है, बट पीपल विल नेवर बी एबल टू एनकरेज टू यू. सो ही ऑलवेज से दैट द थिंग दैट ही सेड इन दैट इंटरव्यू वाज दैट इफ यू आर अ पर्सन हु हैव एनकाउंटर्ड डार्कनेस, just write about darkness. Do not write about light. Why do you want to write about light until unless you don't encounter it? And that's the message that I got from it.
For me particularly, when I read the prologue, it was also a translated, like the first part is the translated part, and he explains and then the prologue has a very short story where there's a boy who visits this particular and his name is Narcissus, and that's where the term narcissist comes from. So he visits this particular river, and one fine day he dies and the river is beeping. So everyone around is like, but he came just for himself, right? But the river goes like, yes, but in him I could see my own self in there, right? So, and it also made me question how we as individuals have really never seen our own selves. All we've seen is just reflection of who we are, inside and outside as well. And yes, that philosophical note, he starts
exactly.
And this prologue has nothing to do with the book inside till the end.
True.
Right? And I was thinking, okay, prologue hai, kuch connection hoga, kuch hoga, kuch nahi.
Actually, in this version, which I read, the same prologue also exists, and I thought I could think of the Alchemist here, जो उन्होंने mention किया, is Paulo himself. That is something which I could relate to it, and I hope I'm correct in that also.
That's right. Okay. So now let's jump directly into the storyline. और उससे पहले we will give you a heads up about the important characters of the book. So take it away, Divya.
Okay, so we have Santiago, who's a shepherd. He owns a few flock of sheep, And then we have a very small character of his parents where he talks to them in the start. Then we have a girl. Of course, we'll tell about her later, who the girl is and why is she important. Then we have another, I think, the person he meets at the caravan later.
The Englishman.
The Englishman and the Alchemist.
Yeah, the Englishman and the Alchemist.
And the man who supports, who goes on the journey with him later on.
That's the Alchemist only, the person who goes on the journey later on with him.
The one Alchemist he meets in the camp, जिस पे उसको स्टार्टिंग में भरोसा नहीं होता है, and then जिनसे वो बात करता है, and you're looking कि ये लोग Alchemist हैं, so like that, and then the person who goes into journey with him later. Yeah.
So सारे characters important हैं, सब छोटे-छोटे parts में आएंगे, but main part is the shepherd who goes on a journey of following his dreams.
And there are a couple of बहुत छोटे-छोटे characters like a gypsy woman, then the merchant, then another girl actually, और उसके अलावा the king who comes across, so ऐसे छोटे-छोटे
the woman who interprets his dream for him.
The gypsy woman ना, हाँ, so yeah, ऐसे छोटे-छोटे characters हैं जो बहुत ज़रूरी हैं, but बहुत it like उनका इंट्रोडक्शन ही कैसे दें आई डोंट नो, बट दे एग्जिस्ट फॉर अ स्पेशल मोमेंट, क्योंकि वही कहानी आगे आगे जोड़ती है. अगर आप उनके बारे में बात किए बिना कहानी सुनाना चाहोगे देन इट विल बी लाइक कि वो बाहर गया, उसके पास शीप्स थी, फिर वो फंस गया, फिर वो किसी से मिला, फिर उसके बाद वो खजाना ढूंढने गया, फिर ये हुआ. दैट्स द स्टोरी दैट, बट दैट्स नॉट हाउ इट्स सपोज्ड टू बी. So then the jumping into the story, so I'll start just a little bit शुरुआत का. So San Diego is a person who do not want to, you know, कि खानदानी business, अब इनका खानदानी business technically जो है वो they are farmer and plus a shepherd, so वो उनका पूरा है, and then he do not want to do it obviously, and he's a person who loves exploring, who is a traveler by soul basically, but then obviously his family and he do not have enough money that he can travel, so he chose shepherd instead of farming or anything odd jobs doing, because he felt that sheep के बहाने से ही सही, पर वो travel तो कर सकता है थोड़ा, उन्हीं को घुमाने के, उन्हीं के उसके बहाने, और उनको वूल बेचने के बहाने से नहीं, बहानों से वो ट्रैवल तो कर सकता है. सो दैट्स हाउ San Diego is, and that's what the conversation initially with his parents and all is. So he's least interested with anything else that happens out there, and he's like मैं अपने आप से अपने आप में जी लूँगा. And so he always believes in setting out on his own journey, taking his ships with him, 100, 200, 300, काफ़ी बड़ा अमाउंट था उसके शिप्स का. So उतनी शिप्स को लेके जाना, and yeah. So that's San Diego as a person, a traveler soul, और I guess हम तीनों में वो traveler soul है कहीं ना कहीं. So that's why we are super excited to discuss about San Diego. The book is all about कि उसकी पूरी travel journey में क्या होता है. That's the main essence of the book अगर हम बताएं. So San Diego is out on a travel, and now what happens with him, which teaches us every essence of life. It's what gonna happen up ahead.
So I'll take it thoda aage. Santiago has sheep, and initially he's very content with his sheep. He wants to be a shepherd because he wants to travel, and he every year वो जब wool निकालने के लिए उसको जाना पड़ता है market. But before that, they show a bit of his relationship with his sheep. Okay, so he learns a lot of things from what they teach him. They don't talk a lot, but he knows कि if they are saying a particular thing, they wake up with him, they sleep with him. So or you know, after a point of time, he realizes, is it them who wake up with me or me who wakes up with them? You know, so interrelated, interdependent हो जाते हैं एक दूसरे के ऊपर, and they really mean a lot to him because he cares for them like he cares for anything that's his own, right? So they mean a lot to him. He teaches, he talks to sheep only. They're his friends and the friend equivalent of whoever this person is. And one fine day, he decides to set on this journey. He goes to this village near this town a little far away. He plans that whole journey ahead, takes his sheep for the vulka thing and everything. And while he's passing by, so he keeps going there, coming back and everything. And he knows quite a lot of people. He meets a lot of people. He knows all of their stories, and he visits all these different places when his sheep are grazing around and everything. And yes, that's when he meets someone special, Simran.
That's I guess that is Fatima, if I'm not wrong. That the person who he meets, and he actually tends to like her a lot. But then I don't remember exactly that part. It is something basically then they go apart due to some of the reasons, and after that one fine day Santiago gets one dream about some treasure hidden in the Egyptian
He was
pyramids.
sleeping in
Yeah.
yeah uh,
No,
yeah, he was
he was
sleeping in
sleeping in a church.
चर्च के भी उस वाले सेक्शन में where they what you call it, cement
Sycamore tree.
हाँ
Sycamore tree के
yeah,
नीचे he
he
was
was
sleeping
sleeping
with
and he
his,
gets a dream.
yeah, and he gets a dream, and this same dream actually is coming following from many nights,
Yeah.
which he was not able to decode much of it. Plus, he could also dream about Fatima, and that is how he wanted to meet actually Fatima, and the treasure was not important to him, but he was like, let's just go around and see what is this dream. So then he sets around to go to meet the person who can interpret the dreams about what his dream was and why is he getting the dream so often. So at that moment he meets the Egyptian, not Egyptian, gypsy woman.
The gypsy woman.
Yeah.
So basically, he is very excited. He's spoken to Fatima once, and he can't wait next year to get his get his sheep again there. And he's been dreaming about her since 1 year. He is actually in love with her, and the little bit of time that they spend together, he teaches her. He tells her stories because he knows how to read. So he tells her stories, and she's very fascinated by him. She wants him to come again, and he's also really looking forward to it, hoping that she's not married off to someone else who can read. She's a merchant's daughter. So it's basically this long distance relationship, probably one sided that they are having, to put it in simpler terms. And just before he's about to make that trip, uske thode din pehle se he starts getting this recurring dream about a treasure. So while he's on this journey again to meet Fatima and for the wool, for selling the wool, he comes across this gypsy woman and asks her to interpret. And he's like, I think he tells her that he does not have really, he is
Exactly.
ready to.
So he
He
tells
does
her
not.
that he does not have the money and he only have the shapes and he's doing this for to earn a living. So Gypsy Soul said that, but I'm also doing to earn a living and I'm supposed to have some money from your end. So he says that whatever you ask for, I'll give it to you. So the Gypsy Soul says that, alright, I'll tell you what your dream means, and if you find the treasure, which you have to set it out and find the treasure, you will give me a part of the treasure. And
Tenth of that.
One tenth of the
so
treasure.
1/10 of the treasure, and he somewhere agrees. I guess the first thought would be in San Diego's mind would be कौन सा मैं जाने ही वाला हूँ वैसे भी फ्री में ड्रीम इंटरप्रेट हो रहा है बेटर है, और अगर कुछ मिल भी जाएगा सो 1/10 देने में नुकसान भी क्या है मेरा. आई मीन इट वाज जस्ट कि कौन सा मुझे ढूंढने ही वाली है अगर मैं नहीं भी दूंगा तो, बिकॉज San Diego is yet इतना भी ईमानदार वो भी शुरू में नहीं है, but he is a very polite and a very gentle person who stands by his words, because you can see that हर ईयर एक ही लड़की से मिलने आना is something that something very cute. So he's not that of a cheat soul and he's a very cute soul. So he agrees to that thing that yeah, आप मुझे मेरे ड्रीम का मतलब बताओ, and if I find my treasure, I'll give you the 1/10 of it for sure. So yeah.
Yeah. So she interprets the dream for him. She sees it when she understands and everything. He tells her that there are these huge mountains and there's this thing. So he describes it as the Egyptian pyramid, and she tells him where they are, and she tells him that there is a treasure for you in this particular spot under this particular pyramid. So he's like, but Egypt is so far. How am I supposed to go? So she was like, okay, now you're wasting my time. अब देखो जाना है, but I am done with you. There is a treasure for you. You want to go for it. So he comes out feeling more confused than he was then when he went in. He was again thinking, yaar, he's such a shepherd he whom I can at least understand sheep. So now we see a dilemma. Now we see that there are two options. Either go ahead with something that's always been familiar to you, that has always been your safe space, your comfort zone, or go ahead and test your boundaries as to तुम कितना आगे जा सकते हो. Are you ready to meet with that kind of failure? So this is the dilemma that he was in throughout. But in the end, eventually the treasure does lure him, and we are also glad that it did because we got Alchemist.
Basically, he was actually thinking about the options, and he was weighing the pros and cons, and suddenly he meets, I guess, the king of salmon. That
Yeah.
is Melchi something. I don't know the name exactly. So he meets him, but the king is in disguise. Like the king is also fond of traveling, and he was set out to look out the market and what is there, what is going on, and purchase something. So he was like, and he recognized Santiago, and then he said that I'll help you to get your treasure, okay? But you should follow your dream. So he was kind of being philosophical there and helping Santiago to choose the option. But then Santiago was like, the person is not in a good condition, the clothes are not proper. How can the person be a
The
king
king.
and anything? So then he tells him, like, in the start they're discussing about the thing that he's a king, and then afterwards when he questions ki, how you are a king, then he tells him that I can help you finding your treasure, and then that is how he comes to know ki, yeah, this person is a genuine person. But in that to motivate Santiago, he also gives him one tip, which is like he have to give up something to move forward, and that was his favorite sheep. So that is a heartbreaking moment for Santiago to let go of the sheets and then move ahead to follow his dreams.
So there was again what this king did shed light on was personal legends. He told Santiago and explained how personal legends work. Secondly, he also explained that he promised this treasure, okay, to this gypsy woman, and he was ready to promise this treasure to this particular king. But what the king also told him in advice is that you cannot promise someone something that you don't already
Don't
have.
have.
Okay,
Yeah.
this lessons with him. So, and I think it stuck by him later on when, in all those years ahead, when he goes in search of that treasure. So he decided that the king will not take a part of the treasure, and that is why he had to. The only thing that he that his sheep.
So eventually he gave up the ship to that king, and the king gave him two stones that were, I guess, urchin and something. So two stones, yeah, two stones the king gave him to understand the language of desert and understand the language of the journey he's gonna have it forward in the life coming future.
Definitely. And while he's roaming in that town and he sold his sheep now, and he's a bit lost at that point of time. But I think he even gets all his money stolen at that point of time, right?
रुक जाओ
Yeah,
काफी आगे है वो.
he
पहले मनी शिप्स बेच के मनी तो लेने दो, उसके बाद चोरी की बात आएगी ना.
So he also is passing by this one particular shop where he sees this sword that interests him a lot, and the owner thinks that he'll buy. Owner भी उस पे ध्यान देता है कि कुछ तो है इस लड़के में आता है, रुच दिखता है, लेकिन कुछ खरीदता नहीं है probably. He's longing for that sword, and that's when he decides to go ahead with this treasure finding dream that he has, and decides to sell his sheep. Yes.
So he sell his ships to get some gold coins, and this is the moment that happens around the sunrise basically. So because this is a very important the day part. So sunrise के इर्द गिर्द पे उसके पास जो है 200-300 ships होती हैं, and he decides to get on the treasure and sell those ships. And he is a poor man, a poor shepherd who is traveling from one city to other cities on his foot to just sell wood and collect some money and buy a living out of it. And then he sells his ship and gets gold coins in returns. And now he's one of those common people around here, probably in terms of people. Now he's not poor anymore, and in terms of his own eyes as well, in terms of the people that he met across, in terms of the eyes of his father and mother, probably he is now a person who have a certain number of gold coins in his pocket and is not poor anymore. He is one among the common people living around. अब उसे कोई अलग category का नहीं समझेगा. And then he just roams around into the market and seeing the stuff. Market is the place where the things happen. Then just watching the stuff, thinking the stuff, how to get ahead, thinking about that कि कैसे travel पे जाना है, कहाँ से जाना है, thinking about कि ये ले लूँ क्या, वो ले लूँ क्या. when he realizes that his pockets are empty out of nowhere. And so from sunrise till sunset, this is the portion that happens. He sells his ships, he gets the gold coins in returns, and in the terms of definitions of people and his own eyes, probably now from poor man he has converted into a rich man, because now he has the gold coins. And as the sun is about to set, he realizes that the sun is setting down and his pockets are empty right now because all his gold coins are gone. So the definition, and he's poor back. Is he poor back again, or is he poor comparatively to the person who he was at the sunrise, or to the person who he was at the sunset? And if the question is now, there are three people: the person who he was, before selling his ship, after selling his ship, and after his gold coins get robbed. So the lesson that I learned from over here was that it's all about perspective. There is no one definition to explain that you are rich or you are a poor person. Like, the person with the gold coins probably was a richer person for most of the people in their eyes, but वो gold coins के थोड़े से gold coins के एक झटके में, एक सेकंड में जाने की probability रहती है, और वो एक सेकंड में चले गए. And now he was even poorer than the person who he was at the sunrise, जिसने उसे वो लालच दिया था कि अरे ट्रेजर मिल जाएगा या शिप्स बेच के गोल्ड कॉइन आ जाएंगे, then I'll be a better person. But over the years he was living a better person's life already. बस वहाँ पे वो हल्का हल्का, आप लालच बोलो या हल्का हल्का आप वो बोलो कि औरों की बातें सुन सुन के जो माइंड भटक जाता है, उसकी वजह से ही केम आउट टू एन एक्ट, जिस एक्ट की वजह से सिर्फ एक सेकंड में he became even poorer than he was ever. So that's the thing. So how do you define what a rich and what a poor person is? I mean, it's your belongings, and your belongings will always matter the most to you. Your belongings will never matter to somebody else, and somebody else's belonging will never matter to you. Your ship is the thing that's putting food on your table. For them, it's the gold coin that's putting food on their table. So that's comparison that I learned very much over here. That वो सुबह जो इंसान था उससे अमीर बनना चाहता था, और उससे अमीर बनने की खोज में he even became the poorer than actually he was. So now he's left with no money, he's left with no ship, and he wants to go out on the treasure, but there's no way, obviously. And now the most weird part is that he can't even go back home, because actually he has no money and no ship, so there's no way he can go back home.
Exactly. Also, he is in another city. He's in a new city. He comes to a new city, and the city is very new. Now is now finding a job, how to earn money. So he comes across a crystal shop where a merchant was selling crystals on a hilltop. And he came across it, and he was like, I'll clean these crystals up and they'll shine even more. They'll look like new crystals, and then it will get sold very easily. So the merchant was like, okay, I'm fine with it. And he gave him a job, and that he exchanged the service he exchanged in for food, because obviously he had to survive. So for basic necessities, he exchanged his services, and he started up cleaning there. But then one day he just analyzed the whole situation. He analyzed the whole business point of view, and he gave an advice to the merchant, stating that the people are climbing up the hill and they are getting tired. So why don't we sell tea also here, so that more people can come and they can feel relaxed while seeing your crystals, and more sales can happen. So that thing he analyzed, and he gave the idea. The merchant, being a sensible person, I would say, took the advice, and he started that business somewhere, wherein the business sales again went high, and then he gave a chunk of portion to Santiago as a the profit portion.
Yeah. So what we see in that sunrise until the time when he's working for this particular merchant is again that even when he was monetarily poor, okay, he did not have wealth. He had a lesson learned. Okay, he had a lesson learned that to not trust anybody. So he had a chance to expand whatever he can offer. So up that in his head, he was a shepherd, and the only thing he was good at was maintaining sheep and talking to them and feeding for them, providing for them. But the fact when all of these things happened, and when it came down to surviving in a situation like this, of course, after he questioned n number of things, he questioned whether he was right to come here. He questioned whether he should have just gone back home to Fatima, asked for her hand in marriage and everything. He was questioning all those things, but at the same time, he wanted to at least have some amount to one या तो घर जाओ आप या तो पैसा ढूंढो. And that's when this crystal wala idea popped up in his head, and they even had a conversation. So this particular merchant was wanted to go to Mecca for his pilgrimage, right?
Yeah.
Arabic merchant, and he wanted, like, उनमें होता है कि तुम्हें एक बार तो Mecca जाना ही है for your ultimate pilgrimage, and that's what kept him moving throughout his life. He was always in that hope कि one fine day he will go to Mecca. So this person goes like, yeah, but I think you have enough money to go to Mecca. So why don't you just set out and I could probably take care of the shop. And this merchant tells him this one, again, particular thing, again, very relatable thing is that I think the thought that I might someday go there is what is driving me ahead right now. But once I finally go there, there will be nothing to look forward to. So, this is again the whole journey and the destination, right? So, you go to the destination, you reach it, and then what? You finish a very good book, and then what? You have to hit a fall. But he was not willing to even make that journey. He was just willing to think about making that journey, just for him to move life ahead, right? And Santiago was very different. Santiago was young, he was very different. And even the merchant understood that इस बंदे को आगे लेके जाना है, इस बंदे को उठना चाहिए कि he can realize this dream. And I think he was prepared when after 11 months of working with the merchant, finally Santiago said, I have earned enough. Now I will move ahead with my journey. And thank you so much for all that you've done. And I hope that someday you do visit Mecca and, finish your journey as well. So that is when he leaves this particular shop. And by then he's even picked up the language and a few phrases, and he's pretty decent to move ahead. He knows these particular languages, which is when he meets the Englishman. Right?
In the journey, ऊंट के ऊपर, while going tuku, he meets this Englishman who's also set out on the journey. An Englishman, and he's also one of the only person who can read and can talk a little, who can communicate with Englishmen. As Englishman also, I guess, communicate something that I was surprised at first to know that this person is not educated but still can communicate with me, and yet was excited enough that I know a person who can read as well, can talk about books as well and all this thing, and they can talk philosophy or they can talk the things of here and there. An Englishman himself is out.
Initially, they don't talk. Initially, the Englishman is very grumpy and keeps to himself. He just reads and everything. He's like, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. But eventually, when they are in the middle of this caravan in the desert and they realize they are right next to each other, they decide to strike up a
conversation. And the message comes that कि कभी भी attack भी आ सकता है. By the way, we are just staying here for the night, but attack आ सकता है और हम सब मारे जा सकते हैं. बाकी कोई दिक्कत की बात नहीं है. आप लोग सो जाओ आराम से. What a sweet message to give कि हम लोग आपको लेके तो जा रहे हैं डेस्टिनेशन पे, हम यहाँ थोड़ी देर के लिए रेस्ट कर रहे हैं. बाकी ज्यादा कुछ नहीं है, बस मारे जा सकते हैं. बाकी सब ठीक है.
This is like तुम skydiving के लिए जा रहे हो, तो भी होगा तुम्हारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, हम लेके जा रहे हैं तुम्हें.
ओए, देखो हम पहुंचा देंगे, जिंदा या मुर्दा, that's your decision.
So he does meet this Englishman. They talk about philosophies. They talk about a lot of books that they've read. And this Englishman then tells him about Alchemist and alchemy, basically. So he is in search of an alchemist he believes lives in this particular desert. And he has read endless books. He has visited endless places in search for this particular alchemist. And he does believe that there is one right here in this desert, and that's his journey. That's what he's come for. So again, जैसे treasure होता है, तो treasure could be anything. Treasure could be gold or silver or anything for one particular person. But अगर तुम Englishman को पूछोगे कि तुम्हारा treasure क्या था, तो वो शायद बोलेगा कि alchemist से मिलना मेरा treasure. So again. So I believe this Alchemist is a book of crossroads, कि दो अलग perspectives, but you still end up, joining those perspectives, intersecting at some point, and going ahead from there. So this is what transpires. the माहौल पूरा एकदम टेंशन वाला है. Everyone is very scared. They are expecting an impending attack. And that's when I think they start getting close to one another. Camels पे close होते हैं. Then whenever they sleep also, they're all very huddled together. पहले अगर camel कुछ आवाज करता था तो it was very, they would ignore it. But उसके बाद अगर कोई भी आवाज आती थी, camel is saying something, he looks up, डर जाते थे, उठ के बैठ जाते थे. And initially the attack आया नहीं. They were about to reach this refugee camp. The refugee camp was this neutral ground. वहाँ पे कुछ attacks कोई कर नहीं सकता. You don't have you have to drop all your arms outside, and you will get them once you leave, not before that. And that's when he was surprised that this Englishman particularly had a gun with him, which he didn't know of all this while. But yes, he reached the neutral land, and that's how the story goes.
That is actually the neutral land was Al Fayoum, if I'm not wrong, the oasis. Yeah. He reaches the Al Fayoum there, and there the person, Fatima, turns out to be the daughter of the head of the oasis, if I'm not wrong. Or
no, different person. The girl he is in the market. Meets in the market, she's different, and this particular girl that he meets, she's different. So initially they are all settling in, and he's put in a tent with some young people, and that's where this particular Englishman comes to meet him, and he's like, "Arey, I've been looking all over for you. Let's go find an alchemist and everything." And then they go ahead, and they are here and there searching for everything. कुछ मिलता है नहीं मिलता है. They go back, they start talking, they start connecting, they talk about personal legends, they talk about their own journeys that they have come so far and everything. And that's when he meets Fatima. So initially so this Englishman also is trying to find an alchemist, so they try to ask, but then this book particularly mentions that when we ask women covered in a black gear, they don't answer to us, and they just rush away. They rush away, they don't talk to us. But then that's when he asks Fatima about some woman about something, and she responds in a decent fashion. She's not running away. And he has almost fallen in love while talking to her. Then he keeps meeting her often in this particular place. And after which time he realizes that she's head of the council. She's daughter of the head of the council. So yes, and I think in once a journey, raat mein, he comes across this man who's traveling on a horse. And that man asks him that, do you want to come along with me in search for treasure? That is what something that happens. Saurabh? Hello?
No, he can't hear us, I guess. Can you hear us? No, he can't hear us.
अगर मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो एक बार म्यूट करो दोनों जन.
Can you hear us?
हाँ, अब बोलो. What?
I was saying that he meets the girl near that water wala area. He talks to her and he realizes that she's the daughter of the head of the council. And then one fine day he meets a man on a horse. Now take it ahead.
The man who sets out with him on the journey. Yeah. So major part like the more revelations about the man occurs in the journey itself, starting with thoda ye that the person is intimated enough and then he wants to go ahead, और कारवां तो वहीं तक था technically, and then it's सारी बातें I guess घुमा फिरा के ना वहीं आ जाती है कि हम क्यों करें, हमें क्या मिलेगा, हम क्या करें, why should we help you in any sense of whatsoever. But here the major important part, and with him he meets the alchemist as well. उन्हीं के साथ मिलके जब वो अल्केमिस्ट से पहली बार मिलता है, the whole conversation or whatever transforms from there. The major part was that they were poles apart. The one was totally intimidating and अपने काम से काम रखने वाला, the man of few words, and there was San Diego who wants to explore more, who wants to talk more, who wants to travel more. And from there they meets the alchemist. From there they gets out to the alchemist, and Santiago actually realizes that okay, alchemist bhi hote hain, and the alchemists actually show Santiago as well how to make gold. No, they show them by making gold out of lead, and that's a very magical thing that happens कि lead से gold बन जाना, and they gave him that gold coin as well कि ये वाला तुम रखो, it will help you somewhere in the journey ahead कहीं ना कहीं. And Santiago who has already known कि भाई पैसा होना जो है that does not ease up you up क्योंकि मेरे साथ हो रखा है, he is not much into it कि नहीं जरूरत नहीं है whatever, but then the alchemist insists and then he says that you tell me about the treasure, like उसके बारे में बताओ ना, वो go पैसे वैसे लेके, and then they be like probably this is your treasure, and they're like no, I know this is not my treasure, the treasure is supposed to be big thing. And he's also interested in the alchemy, but obviously रातों रात थोड़ी ना alchemy आ जाती है किसी को. And the guy also has a scar or something. There's a story of the guy around there's some story that they discuss. All right, वो आगे आता है when they meet those people, वो dangerous लोगों से जो मिलते हैं. So there are more stories around that. All right, let's not give much spoiler up ahead. So the alchemist insists and they give him the like the gold, and they be like हाँ let's say gold बनता है, and that's the alchemy. और क्या है? So he does not somewhere believe, he somewhere still thinks कि जादू वादू है, कुछ हाथ का फेर है, धोखा किया है और कुछ नहीं किया है. But just because so many people believes in alchemist, he also tends to believe that okay होता होगा. And then he convinces the other person जिससे वो मिलता है, and he convinces him that I wants to go there, and then he even got information कि वो journey बहुत ज़्यादा dangerous है क्योंकि वहाँ पे आप कह सकते हो रेगिस्तान के पायरेट्स रहते हैं who can attack you, can kill you, and who will not even listen once to you. So there is no way you want to set on. There is a reason why कि कारवां यहीं तक आता है, and we only do this much of a travel. But then he is out on a journey to find the treasure, and he will find the treasure. उसको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So they tells him कि अच्छा फिर उसी से बात कर, वही है जो लेके जा सकता है probably. And
उसके he even gets a job with the council, right?
Yeah, basically he gets a dream, he gets another vision that the attack is gonna happen on the Oasis, and he goes and talks to the head of the Oasis and tells him about the dream. But वो head शुक्रिया करने से better वो उसे क्या बोलता है कि भाई ये तेरा ड्रीम गलत निकला, so you'll be killed, so be prepared for that. So that is how. But then he was like, you know, I'm telling you the truth. And the next day, very next day, the attack happens, and they were saved because they were prepared well before. And that is how the king offers him a job as a counselor in the Oasis. And then at some point of time, there also he tends to stop and not think about the treasure anymore. The thought comes back in his mind कि नहीं अब मैं रुक जाता हूँ. Well, let's see, like I have got the job, I have the girl with me, कि मैं treasure का करूँगा क्या? Why should I go and follow my dreams? Okay. So he was all like, let's just stop here. But then that girl somewhere inspired him that we have a habit of waiting. In Oasis, we have a habit of waiting for the men to come back. So I will wait for you to come back. You go and follow your dreams. And that is how that thought vanishes away, and he again gets back on the track to follow his dreams.
So here also there are like two options. मतलब basically क्या होता है, again comfort and testing your own boundaries. So he was comfortable here, and what also happens is temporarily you are like, yeah, this is all I want. But eventually at some point, not even 1 year later, but 5 years later, 10 years later, you could probably have that thing, you know, काश I would have, you know, started doing something. काश ये करते, अब तो late हो गया है, अब थोड़ी कर सकते हैं. So, and if you don't do it because of someone, probably because of love, there could be also a time where, you know, even though it's your decision, you somewhere start putting it on them कि शायद ये नहीं आती तो मैं जाता आगे, you know, she wouldn't have met me or he wouldn't have met me. So I think she also knew somewhere that ये treasure ढूंढने का नहीं. So he would have this regret for the rest of his life, and she doesn't want to be the reason who in any way possible who was responsible that he doesn't go ahead on this journey that he decided. So she plays her part well. She sends him out again, and she's waiting right there for him to come back with the treasure that he seems to go to find. So yes, and he says yes.
Yeah. And just before people can backlash on us, क्योंकि हमने एक छोटी सी डिटेल में गड़बड़ कर दी है, and I just wanted to confirm that मुझे पहले डाउट हो रहा था, but yeah, So Fatima was not the girl that he fell in love earlier, जिससे वो हर साल मिलने जाता था और impress करता था. Fatima is this lady जिससे वो कैंप में मिलता है. That girl was the daughter of the merchant जिनको वो शिप का वूल बेचा करता था और उसको वो अपनी रीडिंग सुना के इम्प्रेस करता था एंड उसी को वो अपनी सारी शिप्स भी बेच देता है. So that's how it goes on. And यहाँ पे and that love was sort of like कि hopeless love जिसे कहते हैं. But here when he lays eyes on Fatima, he feels that this can be mutual probably. और यहाँ happens the mutual love. Fatima is the one जिसको वो कैंप में मिलता है, जिसको वो वहाँ कारवा में मिलता है. And that's the mutual love that they both fall into. And Fatima encourages her कि जाओ, you need to set out onto the journey कि मैं कहाँ जाऊँगी, I'm gonna be here only. Whenever you find the treasure or you don't find the treasure, you will find me here only. I'm a constant treasure that you have. But I do not want to regret that I be the reason जिसकी वजह से तुम जहाँ से निकले थे नहीं गए. Like you stopped in the middle. And for whole my life I'll keep thinking that I might be the distraction rather than the love you have. So just set out. I don't have a fear that you'll come back or not, because if you come back then my love would be true. And that's the whole thing. And I just want you to follow, like chase out the dream that you initially started. I don't want to be the distraction जिसकी वजह से तुम रुक गए. So that was Fatima, and that's how he realized that this is a mutual love, that he loves her so that he can sacrifice his treasure, he can sacrifice his dream, but she loves him so much that she can trust him enough कि तुम चले जाओ and I'll still believe that you will come back no matter what. Yeah.
So then he finally sets out on that treasure with the man on the horse, and they are riding in desert together day and night. Somewhere they talk, but he's the one doing most of the talking. This person is a bit quiet and just answers in riddles and everything. And one fine day they come across and meet a gang of people, a gang of dangerous people who forbid them from going ahead. And they take them to this place, and they are like, हम तुम्हें आगे नहीं जाने दे सकते, we will kill you, this and that. Till that person, Alchemist, convinces that, oh no, this particular friend of mine who's with me, he has this power, but you have to agree that if we show you what it is, you will have to let us go ahead. So they are intrigued and interested. So he goes like, हाँ ये
That's a very interesting. That's a very interesting segment that happened. The crazy segment that happened. तो कि San Diego's whole point is that कि चल मैं इसके साथ हूँ, we'll figure out something, हम गुंडों से बच जाएंगे or something like that. And the guy opens up his mouth and says, ये बंदा हवा में गायब हो सकता है और तुम हमें छोड़ देना. And Second is like, oh man, you were supposed to like bring us out of the trouble, not fall me into the. And he's thinking like ये शायद बच भी जाएगा मैं पकड़ा जाऊँ तो. And हवा में बदल सकता है. I'm a person जो फूक मार के हवा नहीं उड़ा सकता ठीक से यार. मैं हवा में बदल सकता. What are you talking about? That is like so. And he asks that, but you will have to give us 3 days. You will have to give us the time of the 3 days, and this person can transform himself into the wind because he's the alchemist and he can do it. So they say कि ठीक है भाई ले लो 3 दिन, तब तक उनको अपने पास रखते हैं. And then he tells, the conversation happens is like देख वैसे भी मरना ही है. And अगर तुझे जीना है, then this is the only way to live. Then it's like तो तू अपने पे ले लेता, तू बन जाता हवा में. Then he's like no, वही. So he's like मैं तो बदल जाऊंगा, अब मेरा कुछ नहीं, अब तो अपनी जान कैसे बचाएगा तो ये देख. So 3 दिन है तेरे पास, बाकी अगर आप बदल सकते हैं हवा में तो बदल लीजिए, नहीं बदल सकते हैं हवा में तो आप जाने. So that was a quite interesting segment that happened. And after 3 days the day comes, and वहाँ ये सारे गैंग का जो लीडर है, मुखिया है, उनके साथ खड़े हैं ये पर्सन जिन्होंने फंसाया है सैन डिएगो को. ही इज चिलिंग देयर एंड इज स्टैंडिंग देयर कि हाँ सैन डिएगो बदलो हवा में बदलो. एंड सैन डिएगो इज स्टैंडिंग एट द एज ऑफ अ क्लिफ.
No idea.
और इसके बीच में एक ये भी होता है that the thing that inspired San Diego was that person himself. He said that कि we are not natural, like we are not the natural powers. So neither you neither me can do anything that can control the nature. So the only way that you have to survive right now is that if you can convince the nature to help you out. Then he's like, man, sand and wind is a non-living thing. How are you supposed to me to convince that? Then he said, probably they are non-living to you. I mean, it's on in your बात तो करके देख, क्या पता वो living हो, क्या पता वो सुन ले, you don't know. So I'm just taking away this section because I just love. This is the second section that I love the most, and then I'll enter into the ending only, what I love the most. So San Diego stands over there at the edge of the cliff with nothing to do, and हर कोई दूर दूर से देख रहा है, and everybody is just waiting that मरने ही वाला है वैसे भी. I mean, they have heard of the alchemy, they have heard of the alchemist, but they've never heard of the fact that कोई गायब हो सकता है हवा में. So he just stands there and he just shouts out and calls the sand and says that, you know, I need your help. Then the sand talks to San Diego, and the sand talks to him that, but why should we help you? Who are you? And what will you offer to us? कि तुम ऐसी कोई भी हो, like we are the ones जो nature control करते हैं, and you want us to be controlled by you. That's not gonna happen. So San Diego offers that, no, I don't want to control you. I want to, you know, have your help in making me survive and go past this journey so that I can go back to my love. And this is where the power of love, this is where the true power of love is shown. And the conversation happens like, have you ever been in love? Do you understand the love? And the sense says, yeah, मुझे तो सब पता है. Then it's, no, you don't understand the love. You don't know that लव में like the weight, the कि वो वहाँ कितने ट्रस्ट से मेरा इंतजार कर रही है, and just because I cannot complete this journey just because of you, or probably just because of some foolish person out there, how like would you be able to live by the fact that you could have helped the power of love to flourish but you didn't. So Sand says कि ठीक है यार, मतलब you make sense that yes, love is above me and the love is above every part that exists, but I can't help you, you know, like I only move and I can only create a sandstorm if the winds create a sandstorm. So you probably could, you know, like talk to the wind. So the wind comes in and the wind says that yep, तो wind को बुलाता है. Then the wind comes in and the wind says yep, बताओ क्या बात करनी है. Then he says I need your help to create a sandstorm ताकि मैं एक, you know, and make me light enough, pick me up in the sandstorm and move me from one place to another and cover the sun, create darkness around. So he says that maybe you need to talk to the superior power and वो करेगा ये, भाई हमारे हाथ में थोड़ी ना होता है. Then he says, but the superior power is not here, the hand that has written it all is not here, you are here, and the saint is already agreeing, so probably you may agree as well. Then he says, but why would we? Then he says, because this is for the love. Have you ever fallen in love? Do you know what the love is? Like just understand that the way you move from one corner to the earth to the another corner to the earth, I am the same person who wants to travel from the one corner to the earth to another corner to the earth, and we are so common in each other. Our love is so common, so why don't you want to help me achieving my love that you already achieve yourself? So he says that all right, that makes sense enough and I'll help you out, but similarly as the saint said that सब कुछ हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. I can create the sandstorm probably, but I can't control the sun and create a darkness. You know, you'll have to talk to the sun probably. And then he said, all right, I'll call out to the sun. And sun, being the most superior, was the most toughest person to be convinced. So he talks to the sun, and again the sun said that probably you need to talk to the superior power. हमारे हाथ में क्या होता है वो अभी. Then he says that you are the superior most, तुमसे ऊपर भी कौन ही होगा. And let's talk about it. Like what I am asking you to do, इसकी बस थोड़ा सा अपना रोशनी कमी तो करने को कह रहा हूँ. आई एम नॉट आस्किंग यू टू सेट और आई एम नॉट आस्किंग you to change the time. I'm just asking you to make sure that you are inside that sandstorm so that a little darkness around can happen and that magical feel पूरी आ सके. So he said, but why should I help you? Like you are no one to us. So he said, the help for the power of the love. Like you spread the sunlight, like you spread the joy, like you spread this all wisdom into everybody the same way my love spread the wisdom. And for that you might do it. You might do it for your love if you ever have fallen in the love or not. And I have fallen in love and I'm doing everything for it. For my love for the journey, for my love for alchemy, probably for my love for Fatima. So maybe you can agree to help me for that. And the sun says that ठीक है, if the wind and the desert agrees, and if they are agreeing to blow, if the wind agrees to blow fast enough and if the sandstorm agrees to create a circular motion of the whole desert, I'll agree to, you know, just fall inside it. And that's how, with all the efforts, magically San Diego made sure that he can convince all the three natural entities, the sand, the wind and the sun, to help him out. And then he just says, all right, here's time for the show, just help me out. And then suddenly everybody सी दैट एकदम से तेज हवा चलने लगती है, एकदम से रेतीला तूफान उठने लगता है, एकदम से they see that the sun is inside it going super bright and then super dark, and दैट हैपेंस अक्रॉस, सबकी आंखों में चकाचौंध है इतनी ज्यादा गर्मी और इतना ज्यादा वो देखने के बाद, एंड द नेक्स्ट मोमेंट दे सी एवरीथिंग रेस्ट डाउन, कम्स बैक टू द नॉर्मल, एंड सैन डिएगो इज नॉट स्टैंडिंग ऑन दैट क्लिफ बट इज स्टैंडिंग ऑन अनदर क्लिफ far away, and everyone is just surprised, shaken, and what happens next?
They do believe that he's the alchemist, and they set him out. Both of them, they leave both of them, wish them luck, and send them out on the remaining part of the journey. And eventually, he reaches Egypt. So he goes ahead and he asks someone, "मुझे Egypt जाना." Like, you are in Egypt. So he does not even realize he's reached. Eventually, does reach Egypt. He asks for the directions of the pyramid.
Just a little
He-
query.
Yes.
The guy has left him after that, or वो भी the guy left him after that. Now you are on your own because you have reached the alchemy already. So what would I do from here? मेरा सफर इतना ही था, and now you need to find
They
that.
leave. I guess they leave at the monastery. They meet a monk, and then the alchemist, he stops there in the house of the monk, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
remaining journey is then continued by
Santiago
Santiago.
himself, who says
Yeah.
that इसके आगे मेरा इतना ही था, and इसके आगे you know where the exact location is, जो भी तुम्हारे दिमाग में है, because your dream, your location, you can find it out. अब बचा ही क्या, और alchemy तो तुम्हें मिली गई है already, so
Yes, yes. So finally, he asks for directions. He reaches Egypt. He reaches the pyramids, and for the first time, he sees his dream wala pyramid right in front of him. He sees that there are lots of them, and now he doesn't know कि चालू कहाँ से करना है, होता क्या है, ये वो. Finally, he just roams around, and I think there's this one place that calls out to him. तो वो देखता है कि ऐसे कुछ विंड वहां चल रही है पर कुछ और नहीं हिल रहा. सो ही इज लाइक, ओके, ये थोड़ा भूतिया है लेकिन लाइफ में तो सारी चीजें डेंजरस हुई है तो ये भी कर सकते हैं. एंड he brings a shovel and a spade and he starts digging. And he starts digging. He hits some part, but वो निकालता है, it's not what he's hoping for. And he meets this another group of people who were around that area, I think, and they ask him ki,
few people comes on horse.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they ask him that, what are you doing? And he goes like, I'm searching for something. And they are like, are you searching for some treasure? So like he yeah, I mean, now that he knows कि ये लोग पूछ रहे हैं तो मैं बता देता हूँ. So he's thoda reluctant again. He doesn't want to give out that information. Again, वो जो trust करना है नहीं करना है वाला part comes into the picture, but he decides to take his chance this time. He tells them कि yes, I'm searching for this treasure. So they are like कि यहाँ पे तो ढूंढ लिया है लोगों ने, कुछ मिला नहीं है something. And he's like, okay, so all of this journey, it has gone for a waste. And then they mention that there is this particular image, someone else. नहीं, फिर वो सो जाता है ना शायद.
नहीं.
No, of course.
This is the ending. हाँ. So before the ending, you want to add something, Simran, around कि क्या conversation
No.
होती है and what happens. No. Yeah, go ahead.
You can take it. It's the ending only.
Yeah.
Take it.
So बातें होती तो दिक्कत ही क्या थी, पर घुड़सवार बातें करने तो आए नहीं होते हैं ना. So that was the whole major part around it. So they even found the gold in his bag and they actually be like कि ठीक है खोद भाई, हम खजाना निकलेगा, हम भी देखते हैं. So they somehow like believe him कि होगा कोई खजाना, इसको पता होगा. And then he digs at a place, digs like very hard, and they even beat him up. But खजाना नहीं मिलता है, and then they beat him up, and then they found that gold in his bag, and they be like ठीक है इतना ही. And then they think कि कोई पागल ही है, फालतू में खोदे जा रहा है, नथिंग एल्स, यहाँ तो मिलने वाला नहीं है, और हमें अपना गोल्ड मिल गया. वो गोल्ड जो कि लेड से गोल्ड में कन्वर्ट करके दिया था एल्केमिस्ट ने, और बोला था दैट टेक इट विद यू, इट विल हेल्प यू समवेयर. एंड एक्चुअली इट हेल्प्ड हिम टू सेव हिज लाइफ, क्योंकि अगर वो उनके बैग से नहीं मिलता then they would have killed him for sure. But just they found that they stopped and they be like पागल है कोई, इसको जाने दो. And he had dug like for hours, पूरा पिटाई खाने के बाद bleeding, and he find nothing. and he has traveled so much, sold his ship, got robbed, and left his like merchant wala pyar wahan se, then reached out pura dangerously travel karte hue with the Englishman with the caravan to that city, then fell in love with the Fatima, then left Fatima behind, then met all those crazy pirates of the deserts that you can say, then made sure that he can transform into a wind and can travel to survive his own life, and then reaches out here and dig Gings's ass and get beaten up once again to find nothing at all. I mean, any person who would be at that moment would be dead, who would cry, who would go crazy, who would not even like, what do you say? Who will lose every hope of being alive probably. And that's what not happens to him. And the surprising thing that happens is that he starts laughing. And अभी भी वो घुड़सवार वही होता है, and he starts laughing. Santiago is laughing crazy, और वो घुड़सवार उसकी हंसी से डर जाते हैं, and they're like ये सच में पागल है, and we need to leave him out here. वो उसको पीट रहा है, वो हंस रहा है, उसको कुछ नहीं मिला है खजाने में, and they leave, and they're like भाई ये पागल है, इसको इसी पे छोड़ दो, there is no treasure, यही गोल्ड इसके पास है, किसी से चुराया होगा वो भी उसने, क्योंकि वो उससे पूछते भी हैं कि ये गोल्ड कहाँ से मिला, एंड से कि एल्केमी दैट हैपेंस कि आप लेड से गोल्ड बदल सकते हो, लाइक भाई अब तो बहुत हो गया, ठीक है, फेंक लिया जितना फेंकना था, सो दे लीव हिम, दे आर लाइक इनफ पागल है, एंड द सैंटियागो इज लाफिंग लाइक हेल. एंड what was your, I just want to know कि what was your first reaction to both of you when you read this moment that Santiago was laughing as hell when he found nothing at all after so much?
कि कोई भी जर्नी उसने इतने दिल से की है और फाइनली इट caught up to him that it was not probably worth it. And sometimes वो होता है ना कि तुम इतने स्ट्रेस में होते हो, इतने सैड होते हो और कुछ नहीं निकलता, बस हंसी निकलती कि oh my god, my life is so damn screwed that I'm just going to start laughing.
At that point of time, I felt somewhere like he got a message, he got something behind his mind running, and he was like something's gonna happen, there is gonna be a twist now here, and that is why he is laughing, because obviously you are so screwed up, you have left everything, you are now again a poor person because the gold is already been taken, you have nothing left, and then suddenly all of the sudden after a pause you start laughing, so there is something going on behind the mind and there is something going to come ahead. That was my perception at that time.
And I'll share my part. Okay, so I reached this part and I did not turn the pages ahead. और मेरे आसपास किसी ने भी अल्केमिस्ट जनरली पढ़ी नहीं थी, और मुझे वैसे भी स्पॉइलर से फर्क नहीं पड़ता था. दिस हैपेंड इन 2014. ओके, सो दिस इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी, एंड उसके बाद मैं एंड एक्सप्लेन करूंगा लोगों को. एंड जो लोग सोच रहे हैं दिस इज द एंड, दिस इज नॉट द एंड. सो आई पिक्ड अप दिस बुक फर्स्ट इन 2014. मैं ऑलमोस्ट इसी के आसपास में यहाँ तक पहुंचा, एंड आई पुट दिस बुक अवे. नॉट लाइक मेरा हमेशा से ऐसा था सिंस माई चाइल्डहुड, जब भी मैं रैंडम स्टोरीज भी पढ़ता था ना, आई नीड टू फाइंड अ मीनिंग बिहाइंड इट. मैं इवन अगर अकबर बीरबल तेनालीरामन की कहानी भी पढ़ रहा हूँ ना, मुझे उसका मॉरल जानना है, मुझे उसका मॉरल जीना है. इसीलिए दैट्स व्हाई आई बिलीव कि फिक्शन कुछ नहीं होता, यू कैन फाइंड आउट अ मीनिंग बिहाइंड एवरीथिंग. एंड फॉर दिस बुक टू अंडरस्टैंड द एंडिंग, आई फेल्ट दैट आई वाज नॉट एट द राइट प्लेस. मेरा initial reaction was that he might be laughing, वही जैसे दिव्या said that when you're screwed up you just end up laughing, and I was the same person honestly saying. मेरे साथ कभी भी कुछ भी गड़बड़ होती थी ना, मुझे अगर कभी लड़ाई जैसी सिचुएशन होती थी, मेरी हंसी निकल जाती थी. So whenever I used to be around, when I used to be screwed up, I used to start laugh crazily. So I felt that probably he is doing that, but then I felt that ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, like इतनी journey, इतना setback, and 2014 was a time when I had already had couple of setbacks already. So I just decided that I need to find out that why he was laughing without actually reading that why he was laughing. And उसके बाद the book was of someone else, the book got away, तो ending में वैसे भी नहीं पढ़ पाया, and then I started on my own जो भी चल रहा था, but this book was in back of my mind always. Then once again the book came in my hand in 2017, and that was the time when I again got the hold of the book, and I still remember that मैंने फिर से book पढ़ना शुरू किया. मैंने कहा a lot has happened since 14 and 17, my whole life has changed, I have changed, so probably now I'll be able to get it, and probably I've missed something. पहले मैं शायद कहानी के तरीके से पढ़ रहा था, now I can read it in a manner that I need to find that why the hell was he laughing. And आई रेड दैट बुक और मेरी रीडिंग स्पीड काफ़ी स्लो है, तो मुझे ऑफ कोर्स महीना लग गया था वो बुक के एंड तक दोबारा पहुंचने में, जस्ट 200-250 पेज के लिए भी. एंड आई रिमेंबर आई वॉज इन अ फ्लाइट फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू पुणे एंड इट वॉज लाइक अराउंड 2 AM 3 AM का टाइम था, एकदम रात वाली फ्लाइट में मैं था. Everyone on the flight was obviously sleeping and I was in these final pages, and now I reached at the page where Sandiego is beaten up and is laughing as hell, and I legit closed the book and started instantly out of nowhere and started laughing as hell. और मुझे तब आगे मेरे आगे पीछे वाले जगह और साइड वाले जगह is staring at me and I'm like, oh shit, it's a 3 AM flight, I'm laughing as hell in a flight. And that hit me, that moment, that holy crap, I actually understood that why was he laughing. And I was like, okay, that this is not the treasure is not here, and I could not stop laughing, and I did not even want to read ahead. It was like, I know why he's laughing, man. I know that he found the treasure. Spoiler alert, he found the freaking treasure. And no, the treasure is not the whole journey basically. So something happens is that, तो ये हल्की सी कहानी है that I always say, and you can say that इसका essence जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे Alchemist के बाद ही आया था, that our destiny, our destiny is the destination of our life or the purpose of our life or the solitude that people often say कि हम सब अपना solitude ढूंढ रहे हैं, हम सब अपना solitude ढूंढ रहे हैं. That solitude resides within us, वो हमारे अंदर ही कहीं ना कहीं है. But if we keep finding it inside us, we'll never find it. The only way to find your solitude that resides within you is to go out there. So the journey to find your solitude that's inside you is actually in the outside world, which is a very weird thing. And if you understand, you understand. And that's what I realized inside this book, that metaphorical treasure was that obviously the solitude, but actually there was a real treasure as well. जो real treasure वो obviously ढूंढ निकालता है. And then if you flip the page, anyone wants to like बताना चाहेगा कि एंड में क्या हुआ?
You only continue, yeah.
Alright, so when we flip the page, we realizes that he's back again doing his normal things. दोबारा से वही एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाना आना, whatever it is. And this cemetery church में जहाँ पे वो पहले सो रहा था, he's sleeping over there once again, smiling, and he what do you say, he had this movement and he's over there, he's not sleeping like he's वहीं पे लेटा हुआ है and he's smiling and he's woke now, he's smiling enough and वहीं पे वो enjoy कर रहा है. And then he knows like पहले the whole journey has been like the first time he was sleeping at the cemetery, he had nothing, he had no knowledge, he had no alchemy within him, and he was chasing something which he did not even know that exists or that does not exist. And right now he's sleeping over there, he's laying down over here with all the alchemy that he has, with the love of his life. पहले उसके लिए वो love बहुत skeptical था, one-sided था, but now it's a two-sided love. It's the love of his life. He knows where it is. He knows what the world and what the money, what the rich, what the poor, how that everything works. And he just stands up, and the treasure was actually at exactly the place where he had the dream. And that
Sycamore tree.
Oh my god, I'm having goosebumps once again, yaar. Shit. So, if you know that treasure, अभी ज़्यादातर लोगों के दिमाग में यही हिट करेगा that when why the hell he had to travel all this, get all that beating, get everything. So that's the meaning. Like the place where he was actually his solitude, but there was no way to find that out unless he has seen and felt the whole world. And that's what happened when he felt the whole world and found out that empty hole, and digged the empty hole. And then he realized that the actual treasure was exactly where he started off his journey. And he got back to the same church, digged over there, and found the freaking treasure. And then as per promises, he also gave you, I guess वो epilogue में उन्होंने थोड़ा mention किया, that as per promises, he gets back, give the 1/10 to the gypsy woman as well, gets back to the Fatima as well, and yeah, उसने अपने promises सारे निभाए. But this is the takeaway basically. So even in his whole life, if he would not have set on a journey of an unknown element, he would have never found out that treasure exists करता है. And अगर उसको इतनी सारी दिक्कतें नहीं होती और डायरेक्टली वहां पे पहुंच जाता और वहां पे ही वुड हैव डिग्ड आउट एंड ही वुड नॉट सीन, ही बी लाइक अरे यार बेकार ड्रीम था, जिप्सी सोल ने झूठ बोला, एंड दैट वुड हैव बीन द एंड ऑफ द स्टोरी. Just because he had find everything in his journey, right or wrong, whatever it is, he was able to realize that where the true treasure